Okay, it says first of all install all the ceramic capacitors. So there is 16 ceramic capacitors there, and they gave you a handy picture of where you've got to put them. You really are going to need 20/20 vision to see these capacitors, especially these blue ones. I mean, look at the size of my finger compared to these. You can't, there is writing on those, but I can't read it. This is where the old jeweler's magnifying glass comes in. The first ones I'm going to do are the 820 picofarad ones, which are C18 and C13. So there's C18 and C13 is here. I'm not going to solder them just yet. I'm going to bend them, take them over and just bend the legs slightly, just to stop them falling out. If I make a mistake, I can go back and correct that. In fact, just to make life a little bit easier, I'm going to clip these off. God, these clippers are not the best. You need hands like King Kong to operate these. I'm too old. Right. I think it's time to go and get the Lindstroms. Back with the trusty Lindstroms. These are much easier to use. And this dreaded autofocus. But anyway, that's what I'm going to use. These things, I mean, they're combined wire cutters and strippers, and you need... They do work. I mean, the stripping bit works. But you need hands like King Kong to operate them. I've got to find the next capacitors to put in now. So it's back to the jeweler's loop to try and find some values. I've marked these already. These are the 56 puff ones. C10 and C28. C10 and C28. They should be labelled 56J. Yes, they are. I think I might as well cut these off here. Make life easier. And what did I say there was? C10, which is that one. Sorry, get it off camera, didn't I? And C28, which is over here somewhere. There's C28. I don't know whether you can see what I'm doing. I can't see what I'm doing. Can't see it on the camera. There we go. So that's 4 capacitors in. And I'm going great guns. Still a long way to go there. Right, next up I've got the 390 puffs, which are marked 391. And they go in C6, which is there. And what's it on? C19, which is there. To make life easier, I've marked some of these because it meant you had to use a jeweler's loop to actually read what's on these things. So I've read them, marked them on, and I think that will speed things up because I only have to wear one pair of glasses instead of changing all the time. So which one should we put in first? 820, C11. So cutty, or 820. Yeah, that's the thing. They're marked 820. That's not 820 puff, that's 82 puff. I was in the right place. It's there. It's not there, it's that one. So that's your 82 puff going in. This is why I'm not soldering them. I might make a mistake. I can always solder them afterwards. And when you bend these pins, you only need to bend them far enough to stop them falling out of the board. You don't want to bend them too far, because that makes them difficult to clip off then. So that's that one. This is 122, that's 12 and 2 noughts, so that's 1200 puff. And that's C12, whatever C12 is. But it's down here next to L2. Got it. Okay. This is going to be a very long video. I'm going to have to speed this up. C12, there's C12. Right, what next? C7, 271. That's 27 and 10, 270 puff. And that is C7. Right, next to L4 again. It's a pain this being stuck on here. Useful though, because I can put things on. I'm sorry about the clanking noises. Where did I say C7 was? There. This looks like some sort of output filter. I don't know whether I'm supposed to put these right down on the deck, but I am. I suppose it really doesn't matter for HF. Right, C20 is a 181, that's 180 puff. Now where does that go? C20. Oh yes, I know, that's the one I got mixed up with before. C20. It's this one here. Okay. Whew, 16 capacitors. It's never seemed such a large number before, 16. C30. That's 221, that's 220 picofarads. So that's C30, it's over here. I should stop banging those down, shouldn't I? I think I need a piece of foam rubber to drop those onto. Right, a few more to go. We've got two 470 puffs, they are marked 471, and they are at the input and output of the output filter there. First time I did this with the other cutters, the capacitor went shooting across the room. It took me ages to find it. So there's C5. And C12. There's L4, it's next to L4. I've suddenly grown old, you know. When I was young, I used to be able to do these things without glasses. Mind you, things have got smaller. I thought a kit would be easy, but not at my age. You're having a good laugh at this, aren't you? See me struggle. Granny builds a QRP Labs kit. There we go. Now I'm clean out of ones I've marked. I've got 3 capacitors left, and I can't read the markings on them, so I'm going to have to go back to the jeweler's loop. Well, this one's marked 300, which is 30 puff, and that is C31. Two left. So 50-50 chance now. If I just bang these in, I could get them right, I could get them wrong. So what's this one? This is a 220, which is a 22 puff, and that one goes there at C29. A bit of strain on that one. That's quite a small capacitor. To get it to fit in that hole, it has to sort of spread a bit. Oh well. No. There's one capacitor left. Would it be that one? C9. If it's a 101, which is a 100 puff, then we're in business. It's a 101. So that's C9, which goes there. That's it, all ready to solder. I've got one of these magic jobbies that you can put printed circuit boards in. It's great. I mean, you stick the printed circuit board and it holds it for you. Brilliant. But I've only got one end. I don't know what happened to the other end. I can't find it. So that's out of the window. Normally I'd do it in a vise, but I couldn't get the vise in the camera. Yes, I've got a fine soldering iron, but I'm used to soldering with a bucket. And I can't flipping see. Get these glasses right. Get the light right. Hope you can see. Doesn't really matter. Let's see if I can solder that one with this great big Henley Solon 1960s job. Go on, solder. Yeah, that one's gone. Do the other end. Well, that was a bit of a manky joint, wasn't it? This is the trouble. Not having the thing secured down. Come on. This is good old lead solder. None of that lead-free rubbish. I don't have low sugar drinks. I have real butter and I have real lead solder. Why not? Hey, this is going to be incredibly difficult to do all of these on camera, and you're going to get extremely bored, so I shall solder them and come back to the next bit. Ah, you get the idea. That's the soldering. And the ones I've soldered clip off with the Lindstroms. They're lovely, these are. Yeah, they're well, absolutely worth it, you know. I've got some other side cutters, but they're nowhere near as good as these. I forgot to mention, I should be doing an anti-static mat, but I don't possess such a thing. This is supposed to be a static sensitive board. So this is the reason I chose this big iron, not the Untex, because it's got a metal thingy attached there. I can earth my finger to that metal bit, and at the same time I can earth myself to the board and keep everything at a reasonably constant potential. And I'm not moving about in my chair. I'm keeping my hands on the table and just trying to keep everything as static free as possible. So earthing myself to the board, earthing myself to the soldering iron, dropping a blob of solder on, letting it, don't put too much on that one. You don't need much at all. It's only just a slight dab, long enough to let it flow into the hole. That was a bad one. And same for this one. Oops. You really do need loads of hands, don't you? Earth myself to the board, earth myself to the soldering iron, solder it, solder it, solder it, solder it, just like that. And there's none of that painting flux all over everything palaver. Just use multi-core solder, you know, just like we always used to. They do make it look difficult these days. Right, that's all the capacitors done and in place, and I can go with the back of this with some surgical spirit to get the remains of the flux off, but it's not too bad. So that was not a bad afternoon's work. If I hadn't have had such a problem identifying the components, I could have got this built by now, and also making a video at the same time, but hopefully the next stage will be a little bit easier. The next stage is to install the 1N4007 diodes. They all go the same way round. They all go with the cathode to the left, and they go here, here, here. Here, here, here. Right, so give them a bend. Wonder if that'll be sharp enough. I didn't bend them sharp enough, did I? See, you can benefit from my mistakes. So the next one, I will bend that a little bit more tightly. I usually don't bend them so tight, but there you go. That one's a perfect fit. I'll come back and do number one in a bit. I'll clip some of this off. There's the next one. Bend it pretty sharp. I'll just do a production line, bend them all. It's probably a good idea to bend them first. That's probably not sharp enough. Sorry about my big fingers getting in the way. It's not my big fingers, it's just tiny components. Right, D6. Again, that's okay. Bend, bend, just to hold it in place. Pays dividends later. Bend, bend. Things are falling down around me. D1. I'm not letting you see this, am I? D1. Got two more. D2. I'm going to speed this up. And D3. There you go. Right, next we have the 47 microhenry inductors. There's 4 of these, and they go somewhere here, here, here. They're all over the place. Next up we have 4 transistors, the PA transistors that have got to go in here. But these slots the pins are not the same spacing in the slots, so they've got to be bent out slightly. To be honest, this is one of the hardest jobs of the whole lot. I found the best way to do is to put the fine nose pliers against the transistor and then bend the legs down like that, and then splay them out a bit. And then, if possible, give them a slight kink to get them straight, to get them to go straight down the hole. You don't get many chances at this, I don't suppose. I think destroying a transistor now would be a disaster. But I think I've got the 4 transistors sort of all bent roughly the same. And they go in the board, like this. More fingers and thumbs tonight. More thumbs and thumbs. There you go. There's number 1. So they have to lie flush against the board for heat sinking. So probably best to get them bolted, get them in, bolt them down, because there's a clamp that goes over the top of them, and then solder them. I wouldn't solder them first, because when you put the pressure on them, it would damage those connections, or it might not. So it's number 3. And number 4. So they've all gone in the holes okay. So now I think there's has a nut and bolt. It doesn't show the underside of the nut and bolt, but there is a is there another washer? I can't see another washer. Anyway, let's just for now stick the bolt through and put the washer on top, put the nut on top of that. Sorry. God, it looks nice and big on the pictures, but it's really, really fiddly when you come to do it. So when those are all screwed down nice and tight, only then will I solder it. You get the idea. The transistors are bolted down using that, and then I can solder the wires later. Now I've nipped off the wires quite close. I've nipped them off quite close so that it'll make it easier to solder. If they stick up too far, you can't get the iron in. Now, here's the iron hot. It's no good trying to solder with a slightly lukewarm iron. Right, where am I? What am I soldering? I've lost it. Oh, there we are. It's up here. So, heat the pad and the thing together. Nice blob on that one. Heat the pad and the transistor. Yeah, it may be the size of a bucket, this soldering iron, but it does do the job. Actually, some of the solder's wicking up through the plated through holes. And we've got the other ones here. I'm sorry I haven't got a microscope. It would be better for you to see through this through a microscope, but oh look, solder fumes. God, I bet the snowflakes are going nuts, you know. Solder fumes. They'd have a fume extractor. I'll breathe lots of solder fumes in my life. There you go, that's the transistors soldered in. Well, that didn't work, did it? I filmed the deburring of this this thingy here, gently with the blade. Toroid, that's what I'm trying to say. Or binocular ferrite. And I said it was a bit sharp on the edges, so I sanded it down with a bit of 210 grade aluminium oxide paper, just to take the sharp edges off. And then I had to unwind all this wire. Now I've got to straighten out this wire. It's a bit sort of gnarly, especially at that end where it was wrapped around. I did find that just pulling it through my fingers did sort of straighten it out a fair bit, but it's still got a few kinks in it. I think to pull it over something like a Sharpie pen, it does do a reasonable job of straightening this. Oh dear, the pen's not supposed to break. That was a bit unscripted. Anyway, there's the wire, relatively straight and all over the place. I've been trying to find a way of lighting this scene. It's very difficult. This light background seems to upset the white balance of the camera. Anyway, I have passed this wire through and round, back through that one, and back up through there. Now I'm going to leave. This is pretty well impossible to show on camera, but I'm going to push it back through there, trying to take care not to scratch it, just ever so gently push it back through. And it says leave a little protrusion, which will be the centre tap. I think it looks like about that big. It's difficult to say really. And then it's got to go back through again, back through the top hole. Oh, top hole, old bean. Yeah, it's getting messy, isn't it? And I'm doing this through the camera, so I can't actually see what I'm doing. If this works, it will be a miracle, and I can feel, while I'm doing that, I can feel some scraping going on, which is not good. I didn't really want the wires to cross over either, but I think I've gone in my haste, I think I've crossed them over. Right, now finally, it's got to go back one more time. So, down the hole. I'll probably fast forward this bit because it is intensely boring. Here we go. I think that's the job done. Pull it fairly tight. And nip it off. There we go. But that's not job done. Oh no, it's got to have another winding. Right, now we've got to wind the secondary. And this is the primary with its centre tap. This is going to be the secondary. So I'll start from this side and leave a little bit of wire on that side. In fact, I'll bend it outwards like that just so that it doesn't go adrift. And bring it round through the top hole. There has to be 3 turns on this, and this will form one turn. I've noticed, listening back to some of the videos, how brummy I sound. Some of my U sounds are quite pronounced, but I don't mind being brummy. So this thing clanking is the camera stand thing. So that's one turn of the secondary. So the secondaries, it's only got 2 turns if you're running it on 12 volts. I'll be running mine on 12 volts. So I'm only going to put 2 turns on the secondary. If you're doing it for a 9 volts, you run 3 turns on the secondary. So this will be turn number 2. I hope I'm doing this right. This is all real time, so you can see the mistakes in real time. There you go. Now where have I got? Oh yes, I've got to go one more. Go through there one more. wheels I've wound in my lifetime, and I'm finding this one the most difficult. Probably because it's on camera, and probably because quite a few years have elapsed since I last tackled anything like this. If I give it a bit of a pull at the end. So that is a 2-turn secondary. Clip it off. A little bit of wire left, and I presume I'm going to have to scrape these at some point. So that's the centre tap of the primary. These are the primary, and it's centre tap, and these are the secondary, which should only have 2 turns. The one thing I didn't know was how tough the insulation is on these wires, and how difficult it's going to be to scrape them all off all the way around to make sure that the enamel doesn't get in the way of the soldering. I think largely it'll burn off once some of it's removed, but I think I'm not going to take any chances. I think I'm going to partially scrape them, and then I'm going to try and burn off the solder as best as I can. Burn off the enamel as best as I can. You can tell it's late. It's past my bedtime, but I wanted to just get this inductor done. I haven't got as far as I expected to get today, but tomorrow's another day. Now I'm going to cut these off slightly shorter, excuse the noise, because I don't want to get them mixed up with the secondary, the centre tap. So I'll cut them off about here, and I'll get the soldering iron on. There's another little trick I'd forgotten about for cleaning these pins. Sharp nose pliers, and just pull them gently along the wire with just the right amount of pull. You can pull off the oh, what's it called? Oh, I'm losing the plot. You know, when I was younger, there was a programme on called My Life on a Post-it Note. It was about an old lady, well, not so old actually, younger than me, who had Alzheimer's, and she had post-it notes everywhere. It was a sad story. I've never forgotten it, and I don't know whether she was forgetting her words, but I can't remember what everyday objects are called half the time. I think I am losing the plot. There's a bit of shininess on there. Hopefully, when I get the soldering iron on, I should be able to tin those, or at least burn off the excess, whatever you call it, enamel. No, hurt myself on the soldering iron. It's chaos round here. Now let's see, will that burn off the enamel? Lots and lots of smoke. It's tinning. God, I am embarrassed about my soldering iron. Look at the state of it. This is like watching paint dry, isn't it? Do you want to go and watch paint dry? I mean, I'm sure that'll make a better video. I think I'm going to make a video about paint drying. Somebody will watch it, I'm sure. I have never known such difficult enamel. It took me all that time, and I've only got one of them tinned. Let's try this one. This is where I burn myself. Give it a good go. Come on. Melt your lighter. No, it doesn't touch the enamel on that side. And let's apply heatage and scrapage at the same time. Come on, I can see these coils are going to be a problem. It's starting to take a bit of tinning now. I think I could hold that on all day and it still wouldn't burn. The recommended way of doing it in the manual is to stick the wires through the holes and scrape them in situ. But of course that won't scrape the bit that's inside the plated through hole. So I was hoping to get them tinned before putting them into the printed circuit board, so they stood a good chance of connecting properly. Maybe the wires would actually stay put better if they were in situ, so maybe they were right. Maybe I'm doing it the wrong way. Well, after a considerable amount of faffing, I've finally got the ends shiny and tinned, but I must admit that took a long time, so now I'm ready to put it on the board. There you go. I might have to apply heat to that. It's going in, Houston, slowly. There you go, Jim, it's in. Right, before I go any further, I'm going to solder those connections. If you wonder what the banging is, I keep banging my head against the camera. I'm, I'm wearing magnifying glasses, and it's a magnifying headband, and it keeps bashing against the camera mount. The instructions were to hold the iron on for 10 seconds. So I didn't really want to delaminate the track off the board, so this is why I wanted to get it all scraped and done properly first. Bit of bubbling going on there, so shows that air is being expelled from the plated through hole. Yeah, that's okay on that side. Let's get these, and then I'm off to bed for the night. I shall resume this tomorrow. This is the big one. Go on, take. Let's hope that's gone. And finally that one. Let's have a look. Oh yeah. There's a nice flow of solder up onto those joints there. So I think that job's a good one, as they say. All that's left to do is to get the old Lindstroms and snip these down a bit. That'll do. Next step, I got 6 inductors in the low pass filter, and there's another one there, and then the sockets and LEDs, and oh, what fun, eh, Pip?